So basically we start with the tabs here on the development server. And so I'll go ahead and give you a run through of some of the features and how this works and a little bit how it's laid out. Again, on the top of the screen, multiple tabs. You can switch between different intelligence centers in the product to go ahead and begin your journey or drill down and carve up the data that you might want to view or export out. Right now we're looking at what we call the date inspector. The date inspector, it's a culmination, accumulates all the data in the system for any users or machines, any SIDs that are reporting, and rolls that data up under the individual dates. And I'm going to show you a little bit about how it works. At the top of the screen, we've got a date range, and so we're selecting right now yesterday's date, as you can see. And on the right-hand top side, we've got a search, so you can search for specific user or machine or whatever your primary basis is. Primary basis on the bottom here, or in the right beneath the view menu in the gray bar, the first thing in the gray bar, that's your index. That's your main search. It's your main way we're grouping the data. In this case, we're grouping the data in the date inspector by date. All the data in the system is being grouped by date. It's a total or an average, depending upon the type of metrics you're looking at, of all the users in the system or all the SIDs that are reporting in. You can go to the drop-down and actually change the primary index. And if you look on the left-hand side where it says end date hour, that's that primary index I'm talking about. We're looking at things by date, and this is today's or yesterday's date, and then each hour of the day. You can click and drill down to go into those. But you can switch that primary basis. You can say, I want to look at things by machine or by machine group, by users or user group or operating system version. And that first column will then change, and now you'll be looking at things sorted or grouped by one of the other options that you might select. We did a little color coding to make your eyes drop to the spots that are common, user groups and login domain, so on and so forth. And to the right of that, you've got a little question mark, which is the help. So if you click that, you can get some, you could click this custom basis button here, and then you can say, not only do I want this primary basis of date that you have selected, but also show me things by machine. And in this case, what's going to happen is you're not only going to see now today's date sorted by the hour, you'll still see that, but you'll see the additional the users that all reported into that hour, or the machines, whichever custom basis you add in. So I added in machine. So we were looking at yesterday's date sorted by hour. Now you'll see yesterday's date sorted by hour, but with the addition of all the unique machines that reported in at that time. So the table's generating. It's going to appear in one moment. So now you see the 2300 hour, so yesterday at 11 p.m., and you see the individual machines that reported in during that hour. And so we went to 6 pages worth of data, where a minute ago we only had probably a single page of data, or maybe a couple pages of data. So basically, this gives you a lot of extended functionality, and I'll click and drill through to give you some more examples of how it works, but I'll switch over to the Users tab to do that. So from the And let me give you another example here. On the Date tab, I can switch to users. I can go to custom basis instead of machines. I can choose users, or I can hit the primary basis here and just go straight to users. But it's a little bit easier for some. If users are very common, you're going to want to look at users often. So what we did is we made that its own tab. So you don't have to go hit the drop down and pick users, or go to your custom basis and pick users if you don't want to. If you're a novice user, if you're just beginning, or not novice desktop administrator and you're just beginning, you can just go over to users, and then we automatically pre-select that as the primary basis. So it's a little bit of a shortcut there for you. And so on the users tab, right now I'm looking at all the users that reported for, again, yesterday, and I'm seeing the users and the table that you're viewing. I'm seeing their UX score, their login delay. What you're looking at here, and I'm going to go down to the next gray bar, is a table right now called User Experience Overview. It's a collection of metrics. They're common metrics that we group together, termed them User Experience Overview. On the top left of your screen, there's a little light bulb, and if you click that, it talks a little bit about this table of data and what these fields are and what you should be seeing below the blue box. You go ahead and minimize that. And then if you actually hover each one of these column headers here, you actually get a little description of what each of these metrics are, what they mean, maybe how to use them in some cases. A little more, a little less in some of them. We'll go ahead and round those out as we continue to put releases and updates out. You can see how that works there. And so what you're looking at here is that user experience table. And if you would like to view this graphically, you can click the graph button here, and you get a little bit of an idea of graphically what some of the data in that table might be. Let me go show you how to control that table here. On the left of your screen, you can simply hover the graph area, and you have a number of predefined graphs you can choose from in here. Right now we're looking at user experience score. We might want to look at the login delay, so I'll click login delay for you. So now we're going to show in the graph the login delay in seconds. So you see all these users and their login time, the highest one being 87 seconds right now. It happens to be one of my machines. So next one here is Jason Maddox. When you hover, you can see on the bottom left, we highlight in a horizontal view, a little bit easier to read. You can also hover the individual bars and dots, and then you can understand maybe a little bit more about the workload in this case. So the workload here, you see I hover and the workload is showing on the bottom left. If I hover one of the bars, it shows the login delay. If I hover if I change my sort here, very interactive graph, and sort by uptime, so how long users have been logged in for. That metric is now charted. You can see that DK's logged in the most, and let's see, this HP user's logged in one of the least down here, okay? Look at David Bieneman's logged in at the absolute least on the demo servers there. And so this graph here, basically completely interactive. You can hover on the bottom left of the screen. You'll see a little bit of the stats that you're trying to zoom in on. And they don't have to be in sync. You can use any graph you want and any table you want. So if you want to slice and dice some of the metrics, you want to look at processor utilization on the graph, get a visual representation of that. But if you want to look at something like the allocation that you've been given for processor on the bottom table, you can go ahead and choose those two different components or widgets, and we'll go ahead and show them on the screen for you. So on the top, I used processor utilization for my graph, which you see here, and in the table, I used my allocations. So I can see that this Angelica here has been using roughly 0.4% of CPU, and then I can see what she's allocated as well by going down to the bottom of the screen and finding her name here somewhere, right down the bottom here. I can see that she's allocated about 3.2 gigahertz of processor, or 3,202 megahertz, uses about 54% of it. So the way that works, again, is they're just separate. You can choose any table you want and any graph you want, and then slice and dice what you're looking at. As a matter of fact, if you'd like, you can even click one of these column headers here and say, well, show me the allocated amounts on the screen so I don't have to go between the graph and the table. They click the allocated column. And what will happen is we're going to take that metric now, that column, we're going to chart it up on the screen. So as you see in the area here on the left-hand side scale and in the area in the background, we've now have the metric CPU megahertz allocated. And so go find Angelica's name here again. If I hover, she's got 3,202 megahertz allocated to her. Then we've got this big honking machine over here, DF32, wonder who that is, with about 10,000 megahertz allocated. So, you know, the developers over there, they need that high-end power, right? And then we can see the actual used amount, 7.5% of processor. So you might look at this and say, we've really over-allocated this machine here. We can take a lot of these resources and leverage them somewhere else. If it was a virtual machine, in this case, it's likely a physical machine. And you could determine that, too, by switching to different table. And you'll have you could get a column on the screen that says physical or virtual, 1 or 0, true or false, basically, and then determine if that was a physical or virtual machine or not. You could also go to your filter tab, and you could say, just show me the physicals or just show me the virtuals, and then the machines that were virtual won't show and physical, vice versa, won't show. Let me shrink that back down. We'll have additional filters in there that allow you to filter things like only show me records that have over 5% CPU or under 80% CPU and that type of thing, and that's coming. So Again, this is pretty simple to use. I'll go ahead and give you maybe one more example here. I could be looking at users right now. I might want to go select a custom basis, meaning change my first few columns in the front. Now I'm going to say show me machines and show me operating system versions and even show me SID versions, the agent versions that we have out there. Hit go, and again what's going to happen is these columns are going to expand out. Anybody who had a single username that logged into multiple machines will now expand out to the individual machines, and that should a couple more seconds. So we've got this DF Win32 7 machine, abc.com. DF32 is the user. Here's the operating system version. Here's the connector ID version, and then so on and so forth, like we had a moment ago. The rest of the view shows through. And so if I wanted to take this information, I could simply click Export. Click here to get the export table. Now this information is now being generated. I could right-click and double-click, Control-A, Control-C, switch over to Excel. I could paste that right into Excel, go into my meeting with this great information here. If I want to throw a graph in there, I can simply right-click on my graph, come back up here, paste it in. Now I've got a graph. Take that back out, insert some space here. So very quickly and easily, didn't have to go to any reporting software and do anything too complex, although we have the option to do a lot of great things with our BERT system. But at this point, it was really simple for me just to go in the product, go ahead and get a graph, go ahead and get a table that I wanted, add the additional columns, expand it out. I can even go to the end of these columns over here and do simple calculations. This should be no-brainer here for most. Stop right there. And now I've got the totals added up here for maybe the some CPU megahertz, which was very simple and easy to do. And I could ship this right off to my whoever wants to see it. I could even go into the product if I was using a certain specific color scheme for maybe a presentation to a customer. Simply click one of the buttons on the top of the graph here and change different colors. If that was taking too long for me and I was anxious to keep going, I could switch a tab to do some other things. Here's a green color scheme. For those of you who haven't seen it, you can go through in the demo server and click those yourselves and play with them a little bit. Applications work similar. Here's application load time. This is the first time ever that we've had graphs and applications coming out in this release. See my app load times. I want to see my active time. Who uses X app in the most? So if I click active time, now I'm going to see apps listed by the number of seconds that they're most active. So we can see most people are using Google Chrome. That's one of the top used apps here. The VMware View Agent, another top used. Trend Micros, another top used app here. Right? If I want to change the sort, I could say, show me the apps that have the most workload. That means the most combination of CPU, memory, and disk. Give me the apps that have the most culmination of all the resources used at one time. So again, Chrome, Internet Explorer. There's a GFI LandGuard application. Maybe it's maybe that's a antivirus. If I want to see who owns that, I can click that application. I can click the graph. It's an interactive graph. I don't have to go down to the table. It's really amazing. So here comes this GFI LandGuard application, and I might wonder who has that application. And so I can look at the app. I can see the active time on it. I can switch to any of the other memory, CPU, whatever I want to in real time here. It's going to just take 1 second to switch over to it. Or I can say who uses that app and go to my custom basis. They show me the username of who is using that application. I'm going to hit go here. If I wanted to switch while that's doing something, I could switch to PCOIP. This is the first time we've got PCOIP graphs in this kind of depth. Right? I can look at I/O transferred. I can look at the image quality that's been sent out to the user, the packet loss, the round-trip latency on the graph. I could shrink it up and go to different tables, view different number of different tables, go back to my applications, see if that's finished. It is. Looks like the owner is system, so this is great for terminal services. If any of you on the SE team know what I'm talking about there, I could go ahead and look and say, well, what machine was this on? Because system is a generic user that doesn't clue me into the actual Windows user that might have been using the system. So we're using the app. So let's go ahead and see what machine that was, just for fun. That's on the AMG-PC. I don't know who that is. AMG. Maybe that's Scott Bennett. I don't know. I know he drives an AMG. So anyway, that's about all I had for you. I could go pretty deep on it probably, but I think we'll save a little bit for the SEs and the team who wants to hop on the demo box and maybe see a little bit of this on their own.